We did a site visit of St. Jude on Wednesday last week, accompanied by a team from the doctors at St. Jude, the technical persons who carried out the audit, staff from the Ministry of Economic Development, from the project office for the St. Jude Hospital. What we found was, to our expectations, very interesting information on the ground. When you hear things and when you physically see it, it's something completely different. What we have determined based on the information given to us by the staff of St. Jude is that they need, presently they operate with 68 beds at St. Jude Hospital. And if they could get the 68, then they can move over to the new complex at the old St. Jude site. I requested of them whether they could work with at least 60 beds, and they said they believed that they could work with that. But when we did the walkthrough, we were able to come up with the accommodation of about 70 beds in the existing, between 70 and 75 beds on the new St. Jude site, or the new buildings. What we have to do is an extensive amount of work in breaking down walls. A lot of what was designed as wards can no longer be used as wards because there are columns and pillars right in the middle, and maneuvering would be a challenge. There are a number of areas where we saw that a stretcher or a bed could not go through the corridor into the rooms. We have decided that the basement of the building, for the majority part of it, cannot be used, but we are going to concentrate on the first floor of the building. A whole section that was earmarked for wards cannot be used at all because you have an issue of ventilation, and it finds itself on the interior part, no windows, no lighting, nothing. And you know that fresh air is very important for patient recovery and sunlight and these things based on the nature of what is happening. So we have put in a small task force together who would work along with the doctors at St. Jude. I was quite impressed with the input made by the doctors, and I couldn't understand why these people were not engaged from the beginning in terms of what is happening. I have also been in contact with the company GE, that's General Electric, who's providing most of the equipment for the hospital. They have committed one biomedical engineer to be with us on ground for an entire week to do the walkthrough and to make the determination on where every piece of equipment is going to be placed and what the outcome is going to be. So we expect that all of these things will fall into place within the next couple of weeks. We do not have approved drawings for the building, so we are looking at doing as-built drawings as we go along. But based on what I am seeing, we would be able to proceed with the majority of the works. One of the biggest challenges we have is in the emergency area. I mean, when the doctor saw the situation, he literally said to me that he would not sleep the night if that is where he is called upon to function. The issue of where the ambulance comes in and how you get off the people from there, and knowing that your international airport is in such close proximity, that is the hospital serving, and being present firsthand at VH after the explosion by RG Quarries, and seeing the response and how the doctors had to work in a confined space at VH, the challenge that it posed for them, the congestion that was in there, with having to deal with 10 and 12 people at the same time, and seeing what we have at St. Jude is, for me, unacceptable. I have had discussions with them so that they are going to sit down with the emergency personnel at St. Jude and come up with some new designs in terms of what is required, and if it means we have to add a piece to the existing emergency section or build a completely new emergency section, that is what we are going to do, because I don't think what we have there can work presently. But to sum it all up, we are going to move. Hopefully before the end of this month, we should recommence construction activity, and within a very short space of time, we should have these rooms ready, and the equipment, all of the operating theaters, the equipment is available. We have to give GE the directive to produce some of the equipment that would be required, and they said they need a lead time of a minimum of 3 months to have some of this equipment produced for the hospital. The good thing is about a fair percentage of the money has been paid down on this equipment, so once we give the go-ahead, they would begin the building phase of the equipment, the manufacturing phase of it, and they would be assisting us in getting all of this equipment set up at the hospital and operational.
One question only. So they say half a loaf is better than none, but 70, for me it doesn't sound like much. So I assume that you've ascertained which types of wards will get a priority in terms of the number of beds.
We are starting off with the 70 because the capacity that we are looking, it's better than what's at George Odlum Stadium presently. Secondly, we would be continuing the expansion to take us to the 116 beds that was envisaged for St. Jude. But if we have to wait to get to the 116, it's going to take us much too long to get the work completed, because as I indicated, a lot of the wards were badly designed with a big steel column just like the one you standing by there in the middle of the ward. And imagine doctors having to maneuver, and when you have to move beds around and things of that nature. So it is going to pose a serious challenge, and the doctors told me straight, that's a no-no. They are not going to be comfortable working in that area with patients. And given the response time that is needed in an emergency situation, I think the biggest issue is being able to pass the minimum standard of meeting safety requirements, fire safety issues specifically. That is the concern, and we do not want to continue the construction as is, and when you have completed everything, you have to tamper with the approval in order to get it. We want to know that given the history of St. Jude, that it was destroyed by a fire. That should be one of the primary things, that we build this hospital, that the evacuation and the safety issues are met with minimum challenges. I think that should instruct us. And I've said, when we've had a tragedy, when we've had an unfortunate situation, it should always inform our position moving forward. And I would be very uncomfortable as minister to know that we proceed with the construction as is, and then you have safety issues when it comes to an evacuation of a facility. And remember, you're not dealing with people who are healthy, who are strong, who can just run out of a building, or you can get them to jump off and fall onto a trampoline or something. That's not the situation. You are dealing with sick people that you need a certain amount of time, and you need the free access to be able to move as quickly as possible. So that is why we are going with the reduced capacity for now until we can figure out how to resolve that problem moving forward in terms of, and the technical people along with the medical personnel will make that determination moving forward.
Thank you
So
very
Joseph,
much.
where will the funding come for the new design and the construction that will start soon?
We still have some funding available from some of the resources that were available. Out of the 20 million US loan that was taken from, that was given by the people, the Republic of China on Taiwan, to my knowledge, only about 10 million US has been drawn down. So the other 10 million can be accessed so that we can get some much needed funding to be able to move quickly with the next phase of the work that needs to be done in that area.
Thank you very much, sir.